y'all, and welcome to the Healthy by Heather Brown podcast, where I encourage you in healthy mind, body, and spirit through my Sunday reset. Let's get into it. Y'all, today's guest is bringing truth, sass, and a pink punch to the wellness world, and she's not holding anything back. You may know her from her former viral show Politics or her powerhouse podcast The Spillover, but now she's making major waves in the natural health space with her chart-topping show Cultural Apothecary, currently one of the top 10 podcasts in health and wellness. Alex Clark is not afraid to say the uncomfortable things about censorship, the lies of big food, and all about seed oils, Hollywood, and the cultural decay poisoning our bodies and our beliefs. But today, she's going even deeper. I'm so pumped about this. She told me this conversation includes things she's never talked about publicly before, including what really surprised her about meeting President Trump and RFK Jr., some of her spiritual journey, and why she's putting her whole heart behind MAHA, Make America Healthy Again. We're diving into exposing how our culture is being hijacked, big pharma lies, birth control, trauma, standing up in Senate hearings as a voice for women and kids, and why the wellness industry needs a serious red pill. So buckle up, pour that clean coffee, and maybe put on your blue light blockers because this episode is going to light you up. Welcome to Alex Clark. We're so pumped to have you today. Woo woo. Thanks for joining us.
I'm so happy to be here. Very, very excited.
Absolutely. So let's start with a few rapid fire questions. What is something new in your wellness routine that might surprise your followers, Alex?
I don't know if it would surprise them, but I have been incorporating creatine. Everybody is raving about creatine, including Ivanka Trump right now. So I am making sure that I'm taking creatine in my morning smoothie every single day. And it's been really helpful for muscle recovery after workouts. And then also, allegedly, it has a lot of benefits for memory and brain health. So everybody is raving about creatine right now. I'm on the train.
Yes, I added it to my routine probably about a year ago, and I felt like I started getting sore less often from the gym. And so I was like, okay, this is great. But my mother-in-law actually passed away from dementia and Alzheimer's about a year ago. And so then when I saw all the stuff coming out about memory, I was like, okay, now I'm never letting the supplement out of my life. I'm really into it now.
And that's exactly how I feel.
Yes, for sure. So let's see. Actually, this is an interesting question. This came from my audience. I was like, what do y'all want to ask Alex Clark? And so they said, how much does her wellness routine really cost? Is it attainable for the middle class?
It depends on what we're talking about. I would say mostly yes. The stuff that I'm putting in my smoothie, no, because I'm doing every single beauty supplement, powder, whatever. That stuff is what costs a lot of money. The collagen powder I use, all that, 100%, it's expensive. But the way that I eat, I think it is very attainable. I mean, I'm just picking one type of protein, so salmon, steak, chicken, and then a carb. I'm doing potatoes or rice or something like that. Adding a lot of grass-fed butter to my rice or cooking it in bone broth or something like that. And then, a vegetable. It's you could really do that interchangeable with all kinds of things, eggs in the morning, some kind of protein. It's that's pretty basic. I don't go out to eat a lot except when I'm traveling or it's a social event, something special with friends, something we're celebrating. Almost always, if I'm home, I'm cooking.
Yeah.
And I do have a red light device in my house. Those are expensive, but it's a one-time cost. And then you have it forever. And I use it 20 minutes total a day, 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at night. The benefits are unbelievable. I've been using red light therapy for 4 years now. It's a non-negotiable in my routine. So it's worth it to me.
Absolutely.
But a lot of times gyms will offer really, really cheap memberships to use a red light bed. So it's there's ways around it. And also, by the way, you don't have to. The thing about my routine is I cut corners a lot by using red light therapy or whatever. But you know what? You can just wake up early and go outside and walk around during the sunrise or go outside at night during sunset and you get the same benefits as red light. So that's what it is infrared light. So yes, there are free, cheap ways to do what I'm doing. But I'm going to be the first to admit I am lazy. And I'm the type of person that is if I can pay somebody to do it or a device to do it, then I'm going to do that. Not everybody has to do that. So I feel like I've done a good job of trying to show hey, there's other alternatives. Really the easiest way to be healthy is cheap and also a lot of times free. And then if you want to go the extra mile and just kind of live a luxe wellness life, you can, but it's absolutely not necessary.
Absolutely. And I feel like one thing, Alex, that people don't talk about necessarily in this space is that when you are either an influencer or a podcaster or those kind of things, we do, as part of our job, get sent things for free sometimes too. So
Yeah.
I always try to say, I know you guys see me using like all these supplements or like my red light device, my red light, mask, like all the things. But if I wasn't sent it, I don't know that I would necessarily have even found out about it and or used it. And to your
Totally.
point, ultimately you're going back to the basics of like cook from home, do the best you can, get out in the sunshine, go back to the way that God designed us to live. And it's all going to be like fairly affordable if you do it that
Being
way.
healthy
Sure.
is free. Being bougie healthy costs money. And being bougie healthy isn't necessary. It's just fun.
Yeah, it is so fun. I'm like, I saw this meme the other day that was like, my husband isn't so worried about me cheating on him. His main concern is that I am going to end up adding one more thing to my wellness routine. And I'm like, that's probably accurate.
It's one more supplement on the counter.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, Alex, another fun question that was submitted is, who is your truth crush or someone you'd fangirl over because they just get it?
Like a truth. I don't know. I've never heard of a truth crush. Is that a girl crush or a guy crush?
I think it means just like someone that's really into like seeking out the truth and like, like maybe is very aligned with what you stand for. Like a truther, I guess, is maybe what they mean.
Okay. I mean, probably Bobby Kennedy. He's kind of a DILF.
I mean, right?
I mean, probably Bobby Kennedy. I mean, he's very handsome. He's been fighting for this stuff for a really long time. I don't know otherwise. I do not consume content that's like conspiracy theories or whatever. I'm not into it. I never have been. So it's like hard for me to answer that with other people. But like in the political space or something, probably him, I would say.
Love it. Love it. And then another question is, you've met so many people, obviously, that are like people's crushes or big political figures. So between like Trump or RFK Jr., Jordan Peterson, who would you say was the most intense to meet in person, and or like maybe one of the most surprising things about one of them?
Most intense. I mean, when you meet President Trump, it's definitely like it's a really larger than life feeling, and he is larger than life. He's humongous. I mean, he's a massive guy in every sense of the word. He's so tall. He's just huge. I mean, the guy's like built like a linebacker. So I would say,
how tall is he?
I don't know. He's between like 6'2" and 6'5". I think he might be like 6'3" or 6'4". He's a huge guy. Yeah.
I did not realize that.
Yeah, so like I'm like looking up at him like a little hamster woman. But like I would say he's got such a presence, but he's very warm. So like I wouldn't say intense, but it's like the situation is intense because you have Secret Service being all crazy and stuff like that. Oh, I don't know, intense, but I would say like what was the other question? You said intense, and then what was the other thing?
And then maybe surprising? Like one of the most surprising things about somebody that you were like, oh, I didn't see that coming about them.
I mean, didn't see coming. Jordan Peterson is like extremely serious. And I would say he's probably the most intense person I've met. I would say like he's like intimidating to me because everything is like very serious, very intellectual from the moment you start talking.
Oh,
and
God.
then I would say, and then I would say like fun and just like, oh my gosh, obsessed with you, Michael Knowles and Tucker Carlson.
Okay, that's so fun to know.
Like just giggly and funny and cracking jokes and like immediately making you feel like you've been friends forever is both of them.
That's so fun. I do want to ask you this. My husband and I were talking about it the other day. So Jordan Peterson, I did not know about him until somewhat recently. My husband and his dad have been like following him forever, like love him. And so I've watched a few of his things, and he is so knowledgeable about the Bible and Bible history and all these things. And so I was talking to my husband. I was like, so he's a believer, right? Da, 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 da. And Eric was like, actually, I still don't think that he is. He was like, I definitely think he's like on a journey. But has that changed, or do you know?
Yeah, he's not a Christian. I would say it's probably like what your husband said. I mean, he just did a Jubilee debate, and it was kind of weird because they said it was like 25 atheists against one Christian. And like the whole debate, like the people debating him were like, bro, I thought I signed up to debate a Christian, because he was like saying stuff that they would agree with. And so it was a weird debate.
Oh,
Really ended up changing the title of that video. I don't remember now what they did. 25 atheists think it's a conservative or something like that. Like, because he's not a Christian. But yeah, I would say he's very into history, and people can be knowledgeable about the Bible. Just because you know a lot about the Bible doesn't mean you're necessarily a Christian. But
right.
I would say he definitely falls into that camp, and maybe that'll change, hopefully.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope so too. Awesome. Okay, so Alex, now I want to get a little bit more into like you and your mission and all the things. So you ask your guests for their remedy for a sick culture. What is your personal remedy right now?
I think I've been on this kick. I talked to this guest, Mary Ruddick, in the beginning of this year, and she had some really profound things to say about the science behind girls having other girlfriends around, and how, as women, it really does things for our hormones that are really healthy for us. So I've been
Oh,
on this kick of like, it's super important to carve out that time. And I know as adults, we get really busy and we don't necessarily prioritize time with our friends. We prioritize more like our kids or our husband or whatever, and we should prioritize that. But I'm just saying, you should make a real conscious effort with your girlfriends to be like, we're going on a girls trip. Like, we are finding sitters, our husbands are going to watch the kids, and we are going to go, even if it's 2 days, like, we're going on a girls trip. I think that it's so healing and healthy for women to have that other, that sense of community with women.
yeah, I love that so much. And I think you're so right. It's really interesting being in this life phase because I have a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old boy. And so a lot of times, Alex, when I'm like, okay, y'all, like I have this weekend free. Can we go to the beach? Like, what does it look like for y'all? And everybody's kind of just like, oh, I don't know. I just don't even know my husband's work schedule yet. Or I think the kids have a, baseball tournament that weekend. And I'm like, y'all, so like what other weekends do you have? And it just feels like crickets. And so I'm like, am I the weirdo for wanting to get away with my girlfriends?
No,
Unsure.
it sucks. It's like everybody, I feel like everybody deals with that with their friend group right now. And so I would encourage you to just be the person to keep asking and be like, hey, guess what? We're doing this. You're going. I already spoke to your husband. Like, I would just be the person, trying to get it all together and kind of like strong arm them into it.
Oh, for sure. Yes. I'm like, you don't have to worry about that with me. They definitely are like, Heather's going to ask us about another trip again. But you know what? Eventually it does happen. I wear them down.
Yeah, exactly.
So funny. Okay. So, Alex, what are you doing physically, emotionally, and spiritually to stay anchored in truth and health right now? I feel like there's such an interesting, this is such an interesting cultural moment right now in America. And it feels like we're kind of swinging, back from like the chaos of the left back a little bit more to the right. But it does feel like there's almost like this, like, spiritual battle going on as an undertone. So I'm just curious to hear, how do you stay anchored when you're like traveling all the time and doing all these on-air interviews? Like, what does that look like personally for you?
I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. It's chaos. It looks like chaos. To stay anchored, it's hard. That's probably the biggest challenge about this job. I think the last 3 months, especially, I have been in a new city, new time zone, basically since March. And so it's been fun, but also it kind of feels like I'm a traveling hobo right now with no place to live. It's very weird. But physically, I mean, I started working with a personal trainer for the first time in my life. So that was the last part of my wellness journey for me to really get serious about. I am not into working out at all. I've been thin my whole life. And so I think that's been kind of a blessing and a curse, is that I haven't been motivated to work out because I'm like, well, I don't have weight to lose. But I started realizing, being in my 30s, that that's not necessarily the only reason that you work out, right? Like, it's extremely important for women, especially, to be weightlifting. And that's important for our health as we're getting older and having babies and all that kind of stuff. And like, you want to start that wellness journey before you have kids. You don't want to necessarily start trying to work out just after you have kids. So not like that's like on the near horizon, as far as I know. Maybe God has different plans, but
Sure.
if it is, I want to be ready. And so I've been doing that, doing Pilates. I'm obsessed with Pilates. I prefer Pilates to be the morning thing. And then I'd much rather do working with a trainer late morning or afternoon, late afternoon. That would be my preference. I do not do well doing weightlifting in the morning. I'll tell you that. It's just hard for me.
For sure.
Then trying really hard to make sure that I'm eating 3 meals a day, 30, 40 grams of protein each, always. That has been something that I really struggle with. And so last year, last summer, this time, my hormones were tanking. Like if I would have gotten pregnant or been trying to get pregnant last summer, I would have miscarried because my estrogen and progesterone were basically at zero. I think it was almost like my body thought I was in an eating disorder.
Oh no.
I've never struggled with an eating disorder. It was just that I was so stressed out. We were going through the rebrand of my show. I think I just wasn't eating enough. And so I would be like, oh, I'm busy. I'm filming. Like, I can't eat right now. Like, I'm not going to take a break for lunch. I'll just eat a bigger dinner, or I'll skip breakfast and lunch and I'll just eat dinner. And then that wasn't enough food for me. Like, I was not eating enough calories at all. And so I think my body started to kind of shut down hormonally. And that was a big wake up call. So I need to redo a Dutch test this coming month to see if I've improved at all since last summer. So that's physically. Spiritually, I mean, when I am home, I try to meet with a small group at church. I have trusted mentors and things like that check in with me, that pray with me, that hold me accountable. I would say that's the biggest thing. And then emotionally, it's that girlfriend time. I've been doing a lot of girls' trips. I've gone through a lot. I lost my dad. I buried my dad. I went through like a serious breakup with somebody I thought I was going to marry all within the last 6 months. It's honestly been hell on earth. So like that, all of that, I've been like, I have to prioritize girl trips. And so, doing a lot of that this summer. And then just having quiet time at home when I am home, like really trying to be in bed by 9:30, 10 at the latest, trying to put my phone on airplane mode and then have an hour or so to read before falling asleep. I'm trying to do that.
That's so good. I'm like, man, I have so many things that I want to ask you about now, and like rabbit trails go down. So I'm like, I got to rein in my brain here. But first of all, I did want to touch on what you just said about weight. So we'll go to physical health first. Like a few years ago, you were proudly repping the title of Chicken Nugget Princess, which I think is hilarious, by the way. And now, you're showing up in the gym, lifting weights. You're completely flipping the script on your health. So I feel like, the more that we learn about muscle for women as we age, like muscle equals longevity, and a lot of my audience will be like, yeah, Heather, like you taught Pure Barre for 10 years, you work out at the gym and it's like no big deal to you. And I just want you maybe to speak to that mom that is like, I'm so overwhelmed. I don't even get any sleep right now. Like, what has it been like for you learning how to go into a gym and to feel confident lifting weights? Like, can you maybe just encourage her a little bit about what that experience has been like for you?
Oh, I completely relate to I do not have time and I do not want to do this. I, first of all, was so embarrassed. There was no way I was just signing up for Planet Fitness or something like that because knowing me, I don't know my way around a gym. I've never worked out in a gym. That was extremely intimidating. And I also could really injure myself because I have no idea how to use any of those machines or what I'm doing. I knew that, one, the only way that I was going to get my butt in a gym was going to be having a personal trainer because they could show me what to do. You're working one-on-one with them, so it's not intimidating. I would never do working out for the first time a group thing, unless it was like Pilates, Pure Barre, that's different. But I'm talking about being in a gym weightlifting. There's no way I would do like a gym thing. I would work one-on-one with a personal trainer, so it's not intimidating. And then they also, because you have an appointment and you're paying them, you feel like you have to go. If you don't have a personal trainer waiting for you with an appointed time, I'm canceling all day long. Like I'm never showing up. And the thing is people are like, okay, so now like that you're doing it, are you loving it? Are you wanting to go? No, I don't want to go. Every single time I have an appointment, I'm like, I want to cancel. I almost do every single time. And I'm like, no, I can't. Like, you just have to have the mindset of like, yeah, you don't want to go, but you have to do it. Just like you have to feed your kids. You have to wake up and take your kids to school. You have to shower. Like, I look at it as a task that I have to do. I don't want to do it. And so once you start being like, I have to do it, then it is what it is. And so that's kind of the mindset that I've taken on. And that's been really helpful.
Yes, I love that.
Also, splurging on, if you can't, just get in the gym. But if you can, splurging on cute workout clothes that are going to motivate you to want to put them on and look cute and work out. That helps too, is when I'm like, I look cute working out. I will do anything if I have the right outfit. I don't care what somebody asks me to do. We're going to go swim with scorpions. Okay, fine. Do I have a cute outfit? I'll do it. Like, I'll do anything if I think I look cute. And that's just me.
Yeah, I hear you. I think that's awesome. And I will say too, that I think that you touched on something like you're making it an appointment. So every week here we talk about the Sunday reset, and like you can choose whatever the heck day you want to do. But for me, it's Sunday, and I sit down and I'm like, okay, I'm putting the gym on the calendar at least 3 days a week. Like all my other podcast interviews, my dentist appointments, like everything has to fall around that. My whole team knows. So they're holding me accountable. So I totally want to encourage you guys to do that as well. And yes, show up even when you don't want to. But also, I want you to notice that Alex said that she does like Pilates though. So she found something that she likes. So she's making it fun. She's choosing the fun and the hard. So I do love that. Okay, so Alex, now let's talk some about, I mentioned you being the chicken nugget princess. Now we're talking about mind, body, and spirit health. And then we talked about your dad passing away. So bridge the gap. I realized I should have gone back to the beginning. You need to tell everybody about your wake up call. Like just maybe a quick, like 3 to 5 minute, like what made you change from the chicken nugget princess to who you are now and what you do now?
Yeah, so I grew up in a family that did not prioritize health. I mean, we were not active at all. We were a very sedentary family. We never went on vacations. We never were out in nature. We didn't do family walks. We didn't do family sports. No one in my family cared about sports. Like literally, we bonded over TV and movies and like politics. That's the only thing. If I wanted to do any of that, it was going to be with somebody else's family or friends. And my mom was amazing about, she homemade every meal. My mom would wake up. She was a stay-at-home mom. She would wake up every single morning when my brother and I had school. She would make us homemade breakfast, bacon and eggs if we wanted, whatever we wanted, she would make it. I almost never ate, but she would make, and then she would pack our lunches if we wanted. She made homemade dinner. Every day I would come home from school, there'd be like homemade cakes or cookies or whatever. Always. We never went out to eat as a family. My mom always baked and cooked, and she was an amazing cook. However, we didn't, like my parents did not care nor know anything about like organic food or GMOs or what ultra processed food was. So like, yes, she was making some kind of like chicken, broccoli, rice dish with sauce or whatever. But otherwise, like, she's using vegetable oil to cook with and, we're having a lot of refined sugar. We had tons of snacks all the time. So like goldfish crackers and Teddy Grahams and all that. Like I grew up very much in like Pringle land,
Alex,
Dr. Pepper.
Are you born and raised in Arizona? Where are you from?
I'm from Southern Indiana.
What? Oh my gosh, my husband's from Fort Wayne, Indiana. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so my parents are from Northern Indiana. So they're from, my parents are from this little town called Logansport.
Okay.
Then now that my mom lives in Indianapolis, and I lived in Indianapolis before moving to Arizona, but I live in Scottsdale now.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
I grew up in Southern Indiana, right across the border from Louisville. So it was like 15-minute ride into downtown Louisville. That's where my dad worked. That's where I started my radio career, et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, so we grew up that way. And I mean, I remember like high school lunch, I was eating like my lunch was 6 Rice Krispie treats and like a fruit punch. Like that was what I would eat. That was it. Like
relatable, yes.
No protein, just absolutely horrific diet, but I was always skinny, always. And during the pandemic, when they mandated the vaccine, I had never heard or thought anything about like pharma or big pharma or anything. I had one set of grandparents that were always from the beginning, like very into organic food and stuff. And I remember like making fun of them when I was little. This sounds mean, but I would just be like, oh, it has to be organic, preservatives. Like I was a brat. So I kind of like made fun of them, and I didn't understand any of that. And so during the pandemic, then I started really thinking about it. First of all, our food supply chain was completely like whacked. Like we were running out of food in stores, right? And I thought, oh my gosh, this is scary. Found out like, hey, if Walmart completely runs out of food, like if Walmart's supply chain is affected, the United States of America runs out of food in 3 days, as little as 3 days if Walmart doesn't get food, because Americans do not know who our local farmers and ranchers are. We get all of our food from the grocery, and basically all over America, it's Walmart is like the number one store that people are going to. There's a Walmart in even the smallest towns, right? So like if that is affected, we starve. And I thought, wow, that's a wake up call. Like, where does my food come from? 1, 2, what the heck? Like, why are we being told that we can only participate in public if we jab something into our arm? Right. That was super disturbing to me. And I had never thought about that at all. And I was scared of that. And it was weird because, and it's totally like divine intervention and like God looking out for me, because I am totally fully vaccinated. I opted to get the Gardasil shot when I was in high school because they were just like, this is good to do. And I was like, cool. And then I got a flu shot every single year, my whole life, like every fall, like clockwork, even as an adult. I thought like, oh, this is so fun to get a flu shot. I'm doing something good. I was so freaking clueless, like complete opposite of what I am now. I just did what I was told, like a good little American girl who just listens to conventional medicine. I had no idea. And so I started kind of learning about and looking into big pharma, learned about hormonal birth control, which I had been on for like almost a decade. I was so sick. There were so many side effects with that I realized, holy crap, why was I put on this? Because I didn't need to be. And I got off birth control. I didn't get the vaccine. I started learning about big pharma. I learned about Oxycontin and the Sackler family and how evil that was. And I was like, man, if that could happen. And now we have the opioid epidemic. Of course, like they could be lying about what they know, about the vaccine or how thoroughly tested it is, or just pushing this. And we truly don't know what the ramifications could be. We don't know how this could affect people's fertility long-term, et cetera. So I didn't get that, started learning about food, started learning to cook for the first time during the pandemic, had never, ever cooked before, got one of those and I'm not sponsored by them. And also I would never recommend them because they're bad ingredients, but I started doing Home Chef and that was helpful for me as somebody who had never cooked because not only do they send you the exact ingredients you need for a recipe, but it's step-by-step written out and with pictures of each step in the process of how your recipe should look as you're making it. Yes. And so that was really helpful for me as a first timer. And by doing that and just feeling confident and okay, I can now follow a recipe. Now I don't have to only use Home Chef. I can look at a recipe book. I don't have to have a picture. I can just follow the directions. I started gaining confidence. I started kind of going and cooking my own meals and just learning more about how our whole food supply chain is controlled by only a handful of companies. The whole thing. I just couldn't believe any of this. And I thought, how do more conservatives not know or talk about food and pharma corruption in the United States? We are aware of food and pharma corruption in every other facet. We know it when it comes big tech, mainstream media, education, Hollywood. We're so quick to call it out in all these other ways, but why is it that conservatives, we're just fingers in our ears, la 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 la, I don't know what what I don't know can't hurt me. The people that are drinking raw milk in California are crazy. That was how conservatives have always been. And so I thought, man, I got to talk about this because I'm passionate about this. My world has been radicalized. I start posting about it. My audience is responding. They're freaking out. They've never heard it either if they've, grown up in a conservative household like me. And so I start talking about it. No one was covering these issues. Nobody in the conservative movement was covering birth control. Nobody was talking about other things like IVF or daycare or whatever, besides Allie Stuckey. Allie's the first one to talk about IVF, but there were just all these things that nobody's talking about. And so I think honestly, as my mind was starting to shift during the pandemic, a lot of conservatives' minds were being opened and the veil was being lifted because of mandating the vaccine. That was the biggest mistake that pharma could have ever made. They made a lot of money quickly, but then they lost all of these long-term customers. I would have been in Walgreens like clockwork every single October getting my flu shot if the pandemic wouldn't have happened. So that is the case, I think, for so many millions of Americans. And it just led me down a huge rabbit hole of learning about health and wellness and how, as a conservative, especially, if I don't want the government meddling in my life and telling me what to do, and I want to be able to fully make informed decisions, I need to have my wits about me. I need to have my health about me. If I'm sick and I'm counting on food and pharma to save me in this country, then I'm doomed. And you are ultimately only responsible for yourself. And then learning about how corrupt our healthcare system is, and insurance, all of that. I was like, holy cow, we really are on our own. And if more people had that mindset and we weren't relying on insurance, we weren't relying on conventional medicine to tell us what is or isn't healthy, we would all be, ironically, a lot healthier. The whole system in America is actually designed to keep you sick longer. It's not to make you well. And so once I realized that, I was like, I'm all in. And I'm the type of person, once I become radicalized on something, it's night and day. I'm a very black and white person. I am yes or no. I am hot or cold. I am interested in a man or I'm not interested within 30 seconds. It's very quick for me. I can walk into a boutique and I'm like, I like stuff in here. I don't. I'm walking out. It's instant. And so for me, when I made the decision to get healthy, I immediately went through my cabinets. I threw everything out that had seed oils. I threw everything out that had artificial dyes, whatever that wasn't organic, my spices, everything, my pots and pans, threw out the non-stick pans. I mean, I did an overhaul in one weekend, went to the store, blew hundreds of dollars. Now, you do not have to do this. But like I said, I'm an all-in person, so I wanted to do it all at once. And then I was ready, and then I was done. But you can easily transform your life to a healthier, non-toxic life, working one small thing at a time, like just your cleaning supplies, just your fridge, just your pantry. You can work in little areas. You don't have to do what I did, but that's what worked for me.
I love all this so much. And for any of my people that haven't heard your story yet, they're going to be like, heck yeah, she's one of us. I love it so much. And I think, Alex, what was so interesting for me, because I had a very similar experience to you in 2020, except for my background was that I'd been teaching Pure Barre at that point for about 9 or 10 years. I was very into health. I did Whole30 multiple times. And so when the government, who I trusted, was all of a sudden like, we should start social distancing. We should start jabbing something in our arm that we don't even know what it is. Like all these things. I was like, a lot of the things that they're saying just don't make sense to my brain based on what I have learned about Whole Foods and Whole30 and how to move your body. So when they were like, you're not allowed to go to the gym anymore, you're not allowed to do this, I was like, this is just all so concerning. And that started the questioning. And I think that is so many people's stories. So I'm so great.
The biggest thing that I learned, what piggybacking on what you're saying right now, the biggest thing that I learned during the pandemic is that sometimes common sense trumps trusted experts or the science. And I'm saying the science, like big science, like
yes,
the capital T science, capital S. Like sometimes your intuition or your common sense as a woman, as a mother, as a human being is like, that doesn't seem right. When a study comes out and says that Lucky Charms are healthier than ground beef, that doesn't seem right. You know, even though, oh, there's a study, but then of course, yeah, you look into who paid for that study. Science is bought and paid for. And I didn't know that, just like our politicians. And I didn't know that until the pandemic. And when you know that information, you really do take a lot more personal responsibility for your own life, your own health, and just start looking at the world differently. And there's so much, honestly, there is so much freedom in that. There is so much freedom knowing I got me. Obviously, like I can trust myself. I can't trust anyone else to be looking out for me. I can't count on them. Like you are responsible for your own life.
Absolutely. And I also think that to me as a believer, it was like, okay, now I really do feel like for the first time in my little sheltered, Southern Baptist, Birmingham, Alabama, Southern world, I actually am standing out like salt and light because I'm like seeing the exposure for the first time. It was like the scales came off my eyes. Alex, and I'm sure you probably felt the same way, but in that, and this is why I'm so curious here how your experience was, I felt like what came up against me in 2021 and things when I started asking those questions online, it was like, whoa, this is like, it's deep and it's dark and it's evil. And there's like this whole underbelly almost, I feel like, of like spiritual warfare behind it, where it's like, you literally like we're just called to live like what the Bible told us to do. God set up the food system, how we're supposed to eat. And yet here we are putting all these fake chemicals in. So all that to say, what would you say is something that people don't see about the pressure, maybe even on you, especially early on in 2020, 2021, of even spiritual warfare behind your platform, or what came up against you when you started asking those questions, if anything did?
Well, of course, even amongst conservatives, a lot of the stuff that I was talking about when it came to cultural issues and health issues in those years, the last 2-3 years, like even conservatives gave me tons of backlash. Talking about birth control, a lot of conservatives take birth control. Talking about ramifications of daycare before the age of 3. Well, tons of women use daycare. I mean, that was like, there were so many things like doors that I was opening that were like, what's the most controversial thing? It was like, how does this keep happening to me? I just started getting radicalized on so many issues in a very short amount of time. And so I'm like talking about all these with my audience. And it's just funny because like I would talk about it and then I would get so much hate and backlash, like losing thousands of followers. And then like 2-3 months later, they'd all come back and be like, you were right. I had emotional reaction. Like I looked into what you were saying and it's all true. I'm like, that's all right. Come on back home, and it's like, this has been my life probably since I started in media when I was 18, working in pop radio. I have built a career on saying what I think, when I think it, which sometimes gets me in some trouble in the moment because I don't pause and then end up being right. And then people, being like, okay, maybe I was a little hasty. Like I took some time. I thought about it. Like now I'm not as offended anymore. But like, yeah, of course there's a spiritual component to it, right? Like, the devil doesn't want you well and thriving and, and thinking clearly and operating on all cylinders, like plugged into church community, meeting with community in general. I mean, look at the pandemic took all that away from us.
Literally.
Churches shutting down, like that was like the devil's playground for sure. So yeah, it was definitely, that was a really, really scary time. And it really showed me how quick everything can go away and how you've got to fight for your freedom, even on American soil sometimes. And so,
absolutely.
Yeah, I played the long game. I was very careful not to be saying the word vaccine on any of my social media. Like, I think I called it the juice. So like I was like, I'm not getting shadow banned. I'm not getting taken down. I played the game. I never talked about like election fraud or any of those stuff, like during those hot topic issues that a lot of conservatives were doing. I was like, I'm staying away. I'm staying on here. I'm getting around this. And then, now we're okay. But like, that was a really scary time. Yeah.
For sure. And I think it was so interesting too. Like, I remember being like, okay, so I have to say, like the thing that goes in your arm, or like you said, just the crazy things we had to work around on social media at the time. But then also, I just had on a podcast guest this year, and I was shocked that we still had to say schmancer. He was like, don't say cancer. Everything will get taken out. I was like,
really?
Okay. Yes. I about fell out. I'll talk to you off air about it more in detail. Okay, I told y'all this conversation was going to hit different. I already know some of you are going to want to rewind that last part and just sit with it, but hang tight because we're only halfway through. Next Tuesday, part 2 of this episode will drop, and we pick right up where we left off. We'll go even deeper into Alex's conversations behind closed doors with leaders like President Trump and RFK Jr., what most people miss when it comes to navigating truth in today's culture, how she dealt with grief after losing her dad, and the wild spiritual lessons that she's walking through right now. This is the kind of conversation that doesn't just stay on your podcast app. It actually stays with you. So set a reminder, share it with a friend, and come back ready for more next week. And make sure, in case you missed this season's opening trailer telling you what all's ahead, that you go back and click play on that. I cannot wait for y'all to hear part 2 of this interview. It was so good. And Alex shared with me that I asked her questions she's never answered before, and she shared things with you guys that she's actually never shared before. So you don't want to miss it. Click follow on the show, and then that way it'll alert you either in Apple Podcasts or in your Spotify app or wherever you listen to podcasts when this episode is ready for you. So see you next Tuesday. Here at the Healthy by Heather Brown Show, we're on a mission to help women take back their health, mind, body, and spirit God's way. No woo-woo, new age fluff, or mainstream nonsense. In a world pushing quick fixes and burnout, we're choosing real wellness, intentional living, and faith-filled confidence. This show is for you, sister, and it's made possible by this incredible community. If you believe in this mission, here's how you can help. 1, pause and leave a 5-star review. It's free and makes a huge impact. Share with a bestie who needs this message. 3, support the mission financially. Every little bit helps. Links for PayPal and Venmo are in the show notes. Let's rise up and change the culture, showing the world what healthy, empowered, faith-filled women really look like. Okay, friend, that's a wrap on this week's episode. If you're not already following me on Instagram, make sure to screenshot this episode, share it to your stories, and tag @Healthy by Heather Brown so I can connect with you in my DMs. It truly brings me so much joy to see how these episodes impact you. Make sure to subscribe so we can see you back here next Tuesday for our weekly show. In case you don't know, your downloads, ratings, and reviews are the actual lifeblood of this podcast, and it helps spread the word to your friends and family. So please hit the download button on this episode and leave a 5-star rating if you super loved it. And if we're really BFFs, you'll spread the happy and text this podcast link to someone who needs to hear it today for some encouragement. Scroll down to the show notes on this episode to see any and all links mentioned, freebies to fuel your health goals, prayer-related episodes, and the 7-day free trial of my exclusive membership where I personally coach and cheer you on in whole health. While you're there, make sure to check out my Amazon storefront with healthy snacks, my favorite look for less workout outfits, and books and devotionals that challenge me in my faith. If you ever need to find my Amazon storefront, just Google Healthy by Heather Brown Amazon and it will come up. Have a great day, girl gang.